In the small, red-earthed town of Ngola, where the evenings smelled of roasted corn and the children's laughter echoed through the hills, there once lived a girl named Fifi. She was only 10 when sorrow came knocking at her door. Her father and mother were taken by illness, and the world around her became too wide, too empty, but Ngola is not a place where a child cries alone. A friend of her late mother, Mama Fune, took her in. Mama Fune was a woman whose smile could chase away the rain. Her body was soft and round, her laughter deep like the drumbeats of the market. She sold food by the roadside, hot rice, pepper soup, fried fish, to travelers whose tires raised the village dust. She already had one daughter, Annie, 5 years younger than Fifi, the cheerful girl with bright eyes and a curious mind. From the day Fifi arrived, the two became sisters. They fetched water together, pounded yam together, laughed together. Mama Fune loved them both with the same wide heart. The girls grew under her care like twin flowers in the same garden, but one flower began to bloom brighter. Fifi's beauty was the kind that made people pause. Her skin shone like wet clay after rain, her eyes, large and soft, seemed to see into your heart. Annie was beautiful too, yes, but her beauty was like dawn, gentle and unnoticed, while Fifi's was midday sun, every afternoon after school. They helped Mama Fune at her stand by the road, planting hot and sweet fish fresh from the river. They would sing together, their voices mingling like music. Life was peaceful, until the year Fifi turned 18. That year, strangers came to Ngola, men in boots and helmets, carrying metal rulers and strange papers. The government had decided to build a new road linking Ngola to the faraway city. The whole town buzzed with excitement. Machines roared, the earth shook, and dust rose like mist. Among the workers was a tall man with a proud walk, Engineer Modi, the chief of the construction team. He was educated, polished, and carried the scent of the city. The first day he came to buy food from Mama Fune's stall, Fifi was serving. Modi looked once, and forgot to breathe. From that day, he returned again and again. He said it was the stew that called him back, but his eyes always found Fifi. Soon whispers began in Ngola. They meet by the river, said one woman. The moonlight knows their secrets, said another, and it was true. Fifi and Modi would meet at the riverbank, where the moon spilled its light across the water. There, Modi spoke of the city, of tall buildings, bright lights, and a life far from the dust of Ngola. Fifi listened, her heart dancing between fear and desire. One weekend, Modi took her away to the city, to a world of paved roads and electric nights. He promised her a new beginning. When word reached Ngola, Mama Fune's smile faded. At first, she told the villagers, Fifi is my daughter. If she has found happiness, let her have it. But her laughter no longer rang the same. As weeks passed, envy crept in, quiet like a snake in tall grass. Mama Fune began to remember every grain of rice she had shared, every wrapper she had bought for Fifi. I took her in when she had no one, she murmured. And now she forgets me. Annie too felt the sting. She watched travelers passing by, gossiping about Fifi's new life, her dresses, her jewelry, her fine house in the city. Annie would force a smile, but inside her chest, something sharp twisted. It's always Fifi this, Fifi that, she muttered while fanning the fire. Was I not also here? Did I not stir the same pot? Soon, love's warmth turned to cold shadow. When letters came from Fifi, cheerful words about city life and promises to visit, Mama Fune left them unopened for days. Annie tore one by accident, pretending it was a mistake. Even the food stand changed. The laughter that once danced between them was gone. Mama Fune cooked in silence, Annie served with a stiff smile, and the travelers noticed, where is the pretty one who used to laugh here? They asked. Gone, Mama Fune replied shortly. Gone to the city. The wind carried her away. But envy is a fire that does not stay small. It grows, leaking at the edges of peace. Every night, Mama Fune would stare into the dark. Her heart heavy, every morning Annie would watch the road that led to the city, wondering what she lacked that her sister had, and far away, in the city lights, Fifi slept beside her new world, unaware that the love which raised her now trembled under the weight of bitterness. Years rolled by like the seasons of Angola's red hills. The road that once thundered with machines was now smooth and quiet, and stories of Fifi's city life drifted back to the village like the scent of distant rain. Annie had grown into a young woman, graceful, bright, and determined. When she earned her high school diploma, the whole village sang her name. Mama Fune's eyes shone with pride and something else, a flicker of hope that her younger daughter might rise even higher than Fifi. A week later, a letter came, written in Fifi's fine handwriting and sealed with the golden scent of city perfume. Annie, come to the city, it said. Come stay with me. The world here is wider than the horizon, you know. And so Annie went. In the city, Fifi welcomed her with open arms. She had grown even more radiant, draped in soft fabrics and the scent of wealth. The house she lived in was large, its walls white and cool, and Modi, now a respected engineer, treated her kindly. Fifi wasted no time in enrolling Annie in a good university. She bought her books, nice clothes, and even a small car to get around. You are my sister, Fifi said. You will never lack what I can give. Annie smiled, thanked her, then yet, in her heart, the restless shadow moved. No matter how Fifi tried, Annie could not stop comparing their lives. Fifi's dresses seemed to glow brighter. Fifi's laughter drew more eyes. Even Modi, when he greeted them both, had a gentleness that made Annie's heart ache with something she could not name. At first, she pushed the feeling away, but envy, once it finds a crack, will grow like a vine. She began watching Modi, how he spoke, how he smiled at Fifi, how his hand lingered when he passed her a cup. In her loneliness, admiration turned to longing. One evening, while Fifi worked late on a charity project, Annie sat with Modi in the sitting room. They talked first about her studies, then about dreams, and then, without planning it, Annie leaned a little too close. Modi drew back gently. Annie, he said, his voice quiet but firm, you are like a sister to me. Do not forget what your sister has done for you. Shame burned through her. That night, she could not sleep. A few weeks later, she returned to Ngola to visit her mother. The road home seemed shorter now, but her heart was heavier. Mama Fune greeted her with tears and laughter, and together they cooked late into the night. But even in their joy, Annie's words slipped out like smoke. Mama, she whispered, Fifi has everything. Everything I ever wanted. And she looks at me with kindness, as if I was still a child she must feed. Mama Fune sighed deeply, stirring the pot of soup. My daughter, envy is a spirit that eats only the one who carries it. You think Fifi's life is gold, but gold also feels the fire before it shines. But Annie's heart was too full to listen. She wanted not advice, but something, anything, that would make fate turn her way. Mama Fune looked into her daughter's eyes for a long time, then reached into her bag and brought out a small pouch of herbs. If your heart truly seeks change, she said carefully, then use wisdom, not poison. Burn these herbs before you speak your truth. Let their smoke carry your voice to the spirits of honesty. But remember, what you call upon may answer in a way you do not expect. Annie took the pouch, half believing it, half not, but believing enough to carry it back to the city. In the weeks that followed, the house's warmth began to fade. Fifi, still kind, felt a coldness she could not explain. Modi became distant, restless, caught in a strange unease, and Annie smiled more often now. She dressed like her sister, spoke like her sister, walked like her sister. When Fifi looked at her reflection, she sometimes saw Annie's face flash in the mirror, quick as lightning. Something was shifting between the sisters. Something deep. Then one day, Modi came home late, eyes tired, words few, and the house that had once been filled with love began to tremble under the weight of desire, envy, and secrets. After that season of quiet tension, things began to change in Fifi's house. Modi, once gentle, patient, full of laughter, grew distant. His words turned sharp, his eyes cold. The man who once brought her flowers now came home with silence. At first, Fifi thought it was work. The new company he managed, the stress, the city noise. She cooked his favorite meals, wore his favorite colors, prayed longer at night. But nothing softened him. He began spending more time outside. Sometimes he would not come home for days, and when he did, his scent was not the scent of their home. Fifi's heart began to fade slowly, like a candle burning down. The servants whispered, and neighbors avoided her eyes, and one evening, truth broke through the door like a storm. Modi had moved into a new apartment with Annie. When Fifi heard, her hands trembled, and the bowl she was holding shattered. But she did not cry before anyone. She shut the door, lay down, and wept until dawn. Weeks passed. Her body weakened. The woman who once glowed with beauty and laughter now walked like a shadow through her own home. Even the city birds that sang on her balcony seemed to fall silent. Then, one day, as she sat near the roadside chapel, an old priest passing through the neighborhood stopped. His robe was simple, his eyes kind but sharp, like someone who saw what others could not. He said, "Daughter, grief has settled upon you like dust. But grief does not come without a reason. Tell me, what pain lives in your heart?" Fifi hesitated, then told him everything, of her childhood, of Annie, of Modi, and of the love that had turned into bitterness. The priest closed his eyes for a long time. When hearts are ruled by envy, he said, it is as though a fog covers their eyes. But fog lifts when truth and prayer meet. What has been twisted can still be straightened. He asked her to pray with him for 7 days. They prayed not for revenge, but for light, for peace, for clarity. And on the 7th morning, as dawn broke, Fifi said she felt a weight lift from her chest, as if unseen hands had untied something inside her. That same day, far across the city, Modi awoke in the apartment he shared with Annie and felt a strange emptiness. The walls felt cold, Annie's laughter hollow. He looked around and suddenly, for the first time in many months, remembered Fifi's smile, the warmth of her voice, the steadiness of her love. He rose, packed his things, and left without a word. When he reached Fifi's door, she stood there, thin, weak, but radiant in forgiveness. She did not curse him. She simply said, "If your eyes can see me again, then let your heart remember what it once promised." And in that moment, Modi broke down. He begged her forgiveness, and together, they began to rebuild what envy had broken. Slowly, laughter returned to their home. Peace followed like rain after a long drought. The news spread back to Ngola like wildfire. People spoke in hushed voices of how truth had triumphed, how Fifi's patience had overcome bitterness. But when Mama Fune and Annie heard what had happened, shame covered them like a dark cloud. The villagers whispered whenever they passed, no longer calling them with respect but with sorrow. One morning, before sunrise, they packed their few belongings. Without a word, they left Ngola, 2 figures walking down the long road, swallowed by the red dust of dawn. And so, the story of Fifi of Ngola became a lesson told by the fireside. Beauty fades. Envy destroys, but a heart that forgives will always rise again. Years passed like the slow turning of the seasons. Ngola, once a sleepy red dust town, now bustled with life. Cars rolled over the smooth tar road that Modi had helped build, and children ran barefoot through the same paths where Fifi and Annie once played. But in every market, every home, and every firelit gathering, one name remained on the lips of the old and the young, Fifi of Ngola. After peace returned to her home, Fifi did not seek revenge, nor did she speak ill of her sister. She simply lived with quiet grace. Her laughter came back, gentle and calm like evening rain. She and Modi grew older together, not in the rush of city lights but in a house filled with warmth, prayer, and the soft hum of forgiveness. Sometimes, travelers passing through the city would stop by their home, asking to see the woman whose kindness had overcome bitterness. Fifi would welcome them with food and a smile, just as Mama Fune once did by the roadside. She often said, "The heart that holds anger cannot hold blessings. Let go, and you will grow." In the years that followed, Fifi opened a small foundation, a place for young girls who had lost their parents, just as she once had. She called it the House of Harmony. There she taught them to cook, to read, and most of all, to forgive. Back in Ngola, the old people would tell her story to children under the mango trees. They would begin with the same words, their voices soft and wise. Once there was a girl whose beauty drew the eyes of men, but it was her heart, not her face, that changed the world. And when the story ended, the children would sit in silence for a moment, feeling the lesson settle inside them like a seed. For in the tale of Fifi, they saw the truth, that envy burns like fire, but forgiveness is the rain that cools the earth. And so, Fifi of Ngola lived out her days surrounded by love, by peace, and by the sound of laughter. Once lost but found again, her story became a proverb across the villages. The road from envy leads to ashes, but the path of forgiveness leads home. And that, my friend, is how the river of Ngola learned to forgive, then how Fifi's name flowed with it forever.